So I would do a kind of introduction, then we get started. Our facilitator, one of them is already here, and I believe we'll have a good evening here today. So my name is Izuchukwu, and I'll be your guest. Sorry, I'll be your host this evening, and I want to use this opportunity to say good evening to everyone. We are over 60 people on this call, and that is impressive. So just a quick one, if you know anyone who signed up for this program and is yet to be here, perhaps a friend, feel free to kind of send them a reminder. A reminder was also sent on Telegram group. So today will be a kind of a pre-bootcamp session, and we have two impressive facilitators who would handle that. So I'll be introducing one of them, and her name is Nanbaan. So Nanbaan, good evening. Trust you are faring well.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. I hope you all are excited because I'll be taking you on introduction to cybersecurity, and I know you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, good to have you here, Nanbaan.
Thank you. So, do I carry on?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. So, welcome, everyone. If you can hear me and you're excited to be here, please, I want you to respond to my welcome in the comments. Welcome, Adewale, welcome, Kayode. I hope you're excited to start this course. So I'll be starting with introduction to cybersecurity. Thank you very much. Now, cybersecurity is a term that we hear generally every day. It's coming up with cybersecurity, and it is used to refer to the security offered through online services. Now, we talk about the cyberspace, which is the internet, basically, where it has become a marketplace, and there's plenty of services running on the internet. There's plenty of activities running on the internet. Before I can reach out to anybody now, I have to pick up my phone, and then I'm connecting on the cyberspace. And with an increasing amount of people getting connected to the internet, the security threats have become massive, and they are causing massive harm and increasing every day. Now, what is the meaning of cyber? What are the problems in the cybersecurity field? What is the need for cybersecurity? And how do you maintain and implement the cybersecurity field around us? Now, cyber, like I mentioned, is a combination form related to technology, to the internet, and virtual reality. And why do we need cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is necessary because it helps us to secure data from threats and misuse, and it also safeguards our computers and our systems from attacks. Now, we have major cybersecurity problems and major cybersecurity issues in our countries, in our states, individually, and in the world at large. And most of the threats here are hackers. Now, a common hacker is actually a person who breaks into computers by gaining access to administrative controls And we have several types of hackers, the white hats, the gray hats, and black hat hackers, etc., which you would learn soon. Now, I'm going to explain cybersecurity using the five laws of cybersecurity that were given by a security professional called Nick Espinosa. Nick Espinosa is a chief information security officer. He's well grounded in the field, and he has broken down cybersecurity for us into 5 different laws, which I'll be explaining. Now, law number 1, we have, if there is a vulnerability, it will definitely be exploited. Now, what does that look like to you? It means that there are no exceptions in cybersecurity. I mean, humanity's history is full of all these examples. I don't know if we follow up with news and politics, but there was a time that President Trump's email password was compromised. And why did that happen? Because it was vulnerable. Now, it's not like he did not have a password. And it's not like he did not even maintain, let's say, 2-factor authentication and so on. It's because he was vulnerable. His password was vulnerable. What was his password? His campaign slogan, "Make America Great Again 2020. That's MAGA 2020. Now, how could the hacker possibly have gotten this? He only got it because he was vulnerable. Now, our first law says, if there is a vulnerability, it will be exploited. A hacker's mentality is key to understanding the motivations for this. Now, an example translates in the non-technical world. If you think of automatic toll booths now, when you're passing through them, it automatically says that, okay, this particular person has passed through this, and they know that you're expected to pay a certain sum of money. Now, if you do not pay that certain amount of money, it is recorded that you escaped with it. Now, people now started getting away with these things by covering what? By covering their plate numbers. Because when they pass through the toll booth now, it doesn't recognize their image. What is that called? Live hacking. Everybody is basically hacking their way through life as days pass, because it's all a part of our world. As far as there is a technology in place, it would definitely be susceptible to hackers. Now, let's go to... Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Sorry, feel free to share your screen if you have any slide while you talk. I think to be easier that way we could follow.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I actually don't have a slide.
Okay, so she does not have a slide, but please, if you're on the call, make sure you are jotting something. We just want to go away from the conventional sharing and the rest. If you're really passionate about this training, I believe you should have your notes or jotting pad so that you can take notes, and you can always watch. The video is recorded and we will upload it on our YouTube. But for now, you should be able to judge one of the things, together. So thank you. You can go ahead, Nanbaan.
Okay, thank you. So now I'll move to the second law, which is everything is vulnerable in some way. I have made mention of that in my first law. Now, people can't trust us because we keep getting breached. There's hardware development every time. We have new computers, we have new models, we have new versions, and software has caused some of the biggest breaches of all time history. IoT development has also seen major disaster over the years in our homes, our offices, in shops that we visit, at the airport, hotels, and so on. Everybody can get compromised. But what we don't know is a lot of us sit down and believe that, okay, maybe because I do not have money, I cannot get compromised. That's a lie. Or because I do not have what they want, so these hackers cannot get to me. That's a lie. In fact, they are actually looking for the people that are very comfortable. And that's what most of us do not understand. I'll move to law number 3, which is humans trust even when they should not trust. So before I explain this, I want you all to, all of us that are here registered for this boot camp, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can you kindly check in your mail? I sent out a mail to everyone, and just check your mails and get back to me on what you see in the next 2 to 3 seconds. Have you gotten my message?
Not yet, ma'am.
Not yet. There's nothing. Okay,
Was
I'm
the
seeing
message
your
sent
mail.
just now?
Not yet. Okay. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. You can stop. You can stop checking. You can stop checking. Now, I'm just trying to prove a point now. I said humans will trust you even when they should not. You did not give me my mail. Okay, maybe you submitted it to the Digital Security Village. But now I'm telling you to check your mail. And all of you are going to go and check it. Now, it is not a fault that you trust me because obviously I'm a part of the team, but it is just because we are human. I hope you understand. And this is something that we still have to tackle, whether it is, a fault or it is just mistakes that people make. I told you to check your mail. I have something for you in it. Immediately you ran to your email to go and check. Okay, if I had actually attached a malicious link there and I said, okay, click on the link I sent to you, you get access to the PowerPoint. I don't think anybody would think twice and say, okay, let me check if this link is actually legitimate or not. You would have clicked on it. I'm trying to prove the point here that even when human beings are not supposed to trust, they do that. And we need to understand that humans do this because we have you have knowledge and evidence of who I am. Now, I have come to you as one of the facilitators of this boot camp, and I can come to you as a hacker in disguise and you will not know. I can come to you as a friend to your mom or a friend to your dad. And just because there's sentiment attached to it, I tell you 1 or 2 things about your mom. Oh, I met her at the market. Doesn't she sell this? And you're like, oh, this person knows my mom. And then I tell you, I need you to give me her address or her phone number. Or her email address. I need to do this. And you give it to me because why? I have proven to you, I've given you knowledgeable evidence that, okay, I know your mom from somewhere. Now, this is a normal thing. Every human being has it in them, but we have to watch out for these things. These are the type of things that the hacker puts into thought before they come after us. Now, law number 4, with innovation comes every opportunity for exploitation. Now, this basically means that, okay, we have various operating systems. We went from Windows 8 to 9, we went from Windows 8 to 10, we have Windows 11. And every time Windows is telling us, update your system, new updates are available. Why is that? Because you have this system, you have created it, you've put in all the services, you've put in all the new features. The attacker is just waiting for it to land, and then they start looking around. They start investigating, they start checking for loopholes for them to pawn. And by the time they exploit those loopholes, they become vulnerabilities. It opens doors for other hackers to get in. And that is why with every innovation comes an opportunity for exploitation. So I'll move on to the 5th law. Okay, please can you mute that person?
Go ahead.
So now the 5th law is, whenever you are in doubt, look at number 1. Now, law number 1 says what? There is a vulnerability, there it will be exploited. So if you're in doubt or you're trying to check if something is what they think they are, always remember that there is always a vulnerability for everything. Now, I'm done with the 5 laws of cybersecurity, and then I'll come back to introduction to cybersecurity, and I'll take it in the area of cybercrime and forensics, because that is why we are here. There's various areas of cybercrime, and then we will be learning about digital investigation, also known as forensics. Okay, now, a victim of cybercrime needs to immediately report the matter to, let's say, okay, in a local community, you have to report to the police, which will not do anything about it. And depending on the nature of the crime, there may be remedies for it. Now, there is a preparation for this thing. We have collecting your evidence, we have contacting the law, preparing a background history, having your names, your addresses, and everything put down, which is recognizable by the law. But in cybersecurity now, it is important to know how these things work, because most times, especially how I've grown in the field, I've come to understand that digital evidence is not really understood. And that is why cases of cybercrime are usually easily dismissed in courts, because even the lawyers do not know much about what is happening in the cyberspace. So they don't know it well enough to defend it. That's why it's important for those of us that are learning this to get rooted in it, so we can know how these things work. These criminals see lower risks and high rewards from cybercrime than true physical crime. That's why I'm not saying, well, you will hear of cases of physical crime, but the more the world evolves, I mean, new cases of cybercrime are coming up. I don't think there is any. When did the Queen die? I mean, Queen Elizabeth left us, may her soul rest in peace, yesterday. And I was already seeing memes and seeing pictures of scammers going to people's messages and saying, okay, I need so amount of money from you for the Queen's death. Now, it may all be jokes, but this is what this is what the criminals are doing. They're taking advantage of everything that is happening to get money out of people's pockets, to get things, to get information to steal confidential information out of people. Now, nation states have also had the potential to disrupt enemies' economy and then social movements through cybercrime. Cybercrime is not just a personal something, it's not something that happens to an individual. We also have between nation states, between Ukraine and Russia. Now that is a nation state, this thing, which could go cyber. Now, the scope of cybersecurity around cybercrime investigation handles the techniques of threat and attack analysis and the mitigation. So cybersecurity is basically a socio-technical problem where security problems, almost all that run in the systems, are being investigated. Now, a cyber attack is also a malicious attempt using digital technologies to cause personal or property loss of damage to a target organization or to an individual. Now, we have what we call insider attacks as well. These happen within the organization and they are carried out by someone who is inside that organization. It's difficult to counter using technical methods because for an insider attack, I am a member of the organization. I have mastered what is happening around me before I take action. So these are things that people look out for, which I'm explaining briefly. And then we have external attacks now. These are attacks to an organization that are carried out by an external agent. They either require valid credentials or exploitation of any vulnerability within their systems to gain access. Now, types of threats, we have malware. A malware is a malicious software that has a malicious intent, which can be installed on a user's computer without the user's consent. Example of malware, we have worms, we have viruses, we have keyloggers. I explain keyloggers now. Keyloggers are software that are installed on your computer that captures your keystrokes. Now, you may not be aware, but you may have downloaded one app on your phone that carries a keylogger, and you're logging into your bank application and then you're typing your password, and that app is taking note of those keystrokes and noting it down and then sending the information over to the administrative in charge of the keylogger. This is how cyber criminals manage to steal information from people. They are used to try to get personal information and gain access to sites, mostly sites like banks, etc. All those ones that will have them getting information, getting data. And
Please unmute yourself, ma'am. You are mute.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, you
We
can.
can.
Please, where did you lose me?
You're
The
talking
key,
about keyloggers.
Okay, I was talking about keyloggers.
Yes.
Okay. So
Something is wrong. Every time you want to talk, your side goes mute.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, let's go again. I think something is muting your end.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
I
so
think the problem is we have access to mute her. I can mute her from my side as a participant.
okay, please don't mute me again. Thank you. Whoever is muting me.
Please don't mute her. Please don't mute her so that she will be able to finish off.
That is cybercrime.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you.
Vulnerability exploited.
Thank you. Yes, you're exploiting the vulnerability of Google Meet. Okay, so I said keyloggers are software that are installed on a computer that captures keystrokes and sends it to a remote system. Now, in the process of using your phone, you may download, an application from Google Play Store, and on that application is not, is a malicious application, and instead of carrying out its legitimate purpose, what it does is it installs a keylogger on your phone or on your computer as well, and you log into your bank application, you think you are sending money to someone securely, and after like 2 days, you see that they've cleared your bank account. What happened? Now that keylogger captures the strokes that you have imputed on your phone or on your computer, and then it sends it to a remote system, which is the administrator. And that is how they take note of all the things you do on your computer, and they use that information to exploit you. Now, another type of malware is the ransomware. I think there was a recent ransomware attack on Bet Niger, and I'm very sure that time all their competitors were dancing in their houses because there was a lot of money that was lost and many people were turning to other platforms. But if you use those applications, I'm sure you heard of it, or your money probably got lost somewhere at a point. Now, what happens in ransomware is that there's a software that is run on your computer that demands you to pay an amount of money before you get your files back. So it gets into your computer, it encrypts all your files, and then it doesn't give you access to it till you pay a certain amount of money, which is called the ransom. It's just like when they kidnap you and they call your family and they're like, pay this certain amount of money before we release her. That is exactly how ransomware works. Now, we also have what is called the spyware. The spyware, the keylogger is an example of a spyware. A spyware is generally any application that is on your computer and is there for you to spy on you. So to spy on your activities, to spy on what you're doing, to spy on the applications you're using, or even your keystrokes, which is the keylogger's function. A spyware takes advantage of anything that is on your computer that can enable them have access to you. Now, for your keylogger, it's your keyboard because it collects keystrokes. Now, you can also use your camera. That's why there's something called a cam cover. It's hardly ever used in this part of the world, but most people ensure, even in organizations, it's a rule that you seal your camera while you're working or when you're out of work. Only when you are using it for calls and meetings, then you leave it unsealed, because you may not know that there's an application on your computer that is recording what you're doing or who you're talking to. So it's important that you take note of the kind of permissions that you give when you download applications, and you check on your applications from time to time. Always make sure you download from legitimate sites. Always make sure that it is the original and authentic application that you are using. So malware can usually spread itself from one computer to another. An example of that is what we call the worm. The worm is a self-replicating malware. It is on my computer, and then I connect, a USB disk to my computer. The worm carries itself, just like how they moves into the USB disk, and then I give it to Mr. Segun, and he connects it to his computer, and then the worm gets into his computer. So that is an example of how malware is transmitted. Now, a virus is a malware attached to a carrier such as an email, a message, a Word document, etc. A virus, unlike the worm, does not transmit itself. Instead, it needs like human action to be able to move it. Now, for a virus, I can send you a message with a virus in it, but you will not get infected until you click on that document, until you click on that link. That is what I'm trying to explain. A virus works in such a way that it needs added effort, it needs human effort, it needs an action to be performed before it works. Now, we have what we call, malware. Okay, I'm done with the types of malware. I'll now talk about threats and parts. Okay.
Choco. Chévere.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
ma'am,
you.
you can.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So I was talking about the malware. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, you
Yes,
were about
yes, we
to
Yes,
can.
we
start
can hear you.
something on threats. That was where you stopped.
Okay, I stopped at this thing. Okay, so I mentioned the different types of hackers earlier, and I said I'll get in depth into it. Now, in a common world, a hacker is someone that breaks into computers, usually by gaining access through the administrative way. Now, we have legitimate hackers, and then we have hackers that come with bad intentions. And this is what people fail to understand. Most times we just categorize hackers as bad people. And as you delve into the cybersecurity world, you get to understand it more. We have what we call the white hat hackers. White hat hackers are hackers that are paid by an organization or are within an organization who know they are given a scope of the organization, they know about the organization, or they are given like a contract by the organization to hack legitimately into their systems, that is called penetration testing. Now, they are testing the systems to know the vulnerabilities that are there. As a CEO or as an owner of a business now, I can't fully secure my system by just sitting down and saying, I know I've installed antivirus, I know that I have people in charge of this. Now, the only other way it happens is you allow someone to try and penetrate into your system through the eyes of an hacker. Now, as a white hat hacker, I'm not coming to exploit any vulnerabilities. I'm just here to check your system for one vulnerability, for any vulnerabilities that may be there. Those are legitimate hackers. Then we have the gray hat hackers. Now, the gray hat hackers are in between the white hat hackers and then the black hat hackers. I should probably explain black hat hackers now. Black hat hackers are the opposites of the white hat hackers. They are hacking with, with the intention of exploiting vulnerabilities and getting access into the system to perform malicious activities. Now, the gray hat hackers are in between. They know some areas of the system. They don't have full access to the system, but they are hacking into the system. That is how, those are the three categories of hackers. Now, how do we prevent hacking? You can prevent it through controls, through using strong cybersecurity controls, strong cybersecurity culture within your organization, as an individual, as a person that uses the internet. You can prevent hacking into your social media, your computers, your mobile phones, through strong security practices. What are examples of these strong security practices? As a phone user, I use my social media more than anything. Now, social media security involves, first of all, using strong passwords. Now, for your passwords, you don't just use the name of, let's say, my birthday or the name of my dog or the name of my favorite sister. It doesn't work like that. Now, I have to use a strong combination of alphabets, numbers, and then alphanumeric characters to set up my password. Now, what you should know is one layer of security is not enough. As an individual and even in your business, it is not enough to use one layer of security. Now, you have to use two-factor authentication. If you use Instagram, Facebook, Google, in fact, on every platform, there's two-factor authentication. It's important to use two-factor authentication for your security. And then for your mobile devices, you should only download legitimate apps, like I explained. For your computers as well, download it from the original site or download it from the official store. And ensure you use an antivirus that is good. Ensure you pay for your licenses and don't use crack apps as well. Other security practices involves practicing good cyber hygiene, staying alert. From what I explained from the 5 laws of cybersecurity, you should learn to stay alert for attacks such as social engineering, for human hacking from different hackers from different places. Now, people might come at you and try to look like legitimate people and try to be friends with you and try to show that they know you in some type of way. You have to be on the watch for this kind of people, and you have to also talk to your family, talk to your friends, encourage them to stay secure as well. Now, you'll soon be delving into the main part of this bootcamp, which is the most important part, which is the digital security. This is digital investigation portion. I'll be taking you on email security, and I can't wait to meet you all there. Thank you so much. Please, if you have any questions, I'm open to answering right now.
Okay, thank you so much, Nanbaan, for that exposition. So please, if you have questions, feel free to use the chat box, and she'll do well to answer them.
Okay, Nanbaan, I think people have started asking questions, so you can just check the chat box and you can pick those questions and start answering. Nanbaan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Please go ahead.
Okay. What is the difference between cybersecurity and information security? Information security is just another way of saying data security. Now, information security is, I think it it is under cybersecurity because you're transmitting information in the cyberspace, but what you're trying to secure is the information, is the data that is involved. Do you understand? Cybersecurity covers technologies, covers people, covers the data itself, covers the sender, the receiver, everybody that is interacting on the internet or in the cyberspace. But information technology deals with protecting information, protecting data assets, and protecting the important data that you're transmitting over the internet. I hope that answers your question, Abiodun.
Okay, so I want to add to what Nanbaan said. Cybersecurity is under information security. Now, in addition to what Nanbaan has explained, information security is the protection of information and information systems. Now, the technologies that houses information and information systems, it can be anything, right? So it covers both physical security, it covers every other aspect of security. That is information. Information security is all encompassing, right? So cybersecurity, from the word cyber, you can detach it. What is cyber? When we talk about cyber, we are totally talking about online. Anything that is not, that you cannot actually interface with physically, but you know, it exists in a technological form. You know, the internet, that is the cyberspace. When we talk about the cyberspace, we're talking about the internet. We are talking about data, whatever assets that has the ability and the capacity to connect. So internet-enabled devices and digital assets, name them, whatever it is, any information or any data that exists in the digital space, right? So we can say cybersecurity is under information security. Information security is all encompassing, it covers every aspect. So you can see a cybersecurity guy who is not dealing with so much of information security. And that is why you see organizations, they are keen on some of the roles that they look for. Sometimes they will say they need a cybersecurity analyst. Sometimes they will say they need an information security guy. You know, but you know, because of how everything looks the same and is interwoven, it has become, you know, a regular thing for a cybersecurity guy to be doing the work of an information security person. You get, but the distinct difference is that cybersecurity deals majorly with digital assets, digital data existing in the digital in digital form, in the digital space. While information security covers every other aspect, the physical security, the network security, the data security, the compliance, and every other aspect of it. I hope I've been able to, you know, help us understand the difference between cybersecurity and information security. Nanbaan, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for enlightening us. The second question is, okay, would you consider adware a cybersecurity threat or attack? Yes. Adware is a type of malware. Adware has to do with advertisements. When you enter a website and then you're going through what you're looking for and then you see a pop-up, oh, here is a chance to win 1 million naira. Just click on the link or play this game. It is an adware. It's a chance for them to get you to click on the malicious link, and then it probably downloads a malicious software into your computer or to your phone, or it takes you to a malicious website where they collect your information or your details. Yes, adware is a cybersecurity threat. Okay, next question. Is it preferable to use two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication for social media security? Yes, that is okay. Two-factor is, you know, is using 2 layers of security. Two-factor is I have something I know, which is my password, and then maybe something I have, which is a token. For those of us that use token for our banks, you have your PIN, you have your ATM PIN, you have your PIN to your banking channels. And then you also have your token. And on that token, you have that security number that is displayed for you before you can make transactions. That is two-factor authentication. It's using two different means of authentication to be able to gain access to a particular system or service. Now, multi-factor authentication it can be more than two. It is advisable, generally, it is advisable to use, an added layer of security. That's why I said a single layer is not enough. So two-factor, multi-factor, you can use 3, 4, 5, as far as you are not relying on one factor. That is what is recommended. That is what is recommended by me. Okay. Okay, this question, I think you should take it, Segun. Please, can you explain the nature
Okay,
of
what's
this
the question? What's the question?
The duration, yeah.
The what?
Duration. Please, can you explain the nature of this program, the duration, what we stand to learn, benefits?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the nature of this program. Now, the idea behind this is we've seen, different boot camps, cohort internships that tries to help people gain, understanding of cybersecurity and be job ready, right? But what we are trying to do is, of course, those guys, different communities, they are doing great work with that. But they teach, they train, and give participants every, they touch every domain, and at the same time try to go into threat intelligence, go into SOC analysis, go into GRC at the same time. But we are trying to come from this standpoint of, okay, we want to help people understand cybersecurity bit by bit, right? So the bootcamp is focusing for now on digital investigations, which leverages a lot on digital forensics, which is an aspect of security operations, right? So this is an aspect of security operations. And we've seen guys who the only thing they do is digital forensics. They don't do any other thing. And they are good in that aspect. So I've discovered that over time, if you have a focused learning, you become mastery in that area. And that is what we are trying to push out. That, okay, every bit of the boot camp, right, we focus on an aspect. We won't deviate. So everything you want to learn here will be around forensics and investigation. So you are learning different perspective of forensics and investigation, the email, the memory dump, the USB stick disk, and every other thing that has to do with digital forensics, investigation and analysis, and writing reports, and the rest of them. So after the bootcamp, you'll be sure that at least to an extent, you have the fundamentals of this, these skills, focused skill, and you should be able to perform basic forensics investigation tasks. So that is the focus, and it's just 2 days. This one is a pre-bootcamp, which we are trying to introduce. There are so many beginners that have joined. So we are trying to introduce them to cybersecurity. A lot of people want to learn this investigative part and this forensic part, but do not even have basic understanding of cybersecurity. And the end goal is to protect assets and protect information. And if you don't know what it is all about, you learn the tools. Of course, we'll be using different tools. You will learn the tools, you'll be good with it, but what about, trying to communicate your findings to stakeholders, communicate your findings, you need basic and fundamental understanding of what cybersecurity is. So the duration is just 6 hours, which spans 2 days, and that is coming up next week. We already sent email out. Next week, 33 hours, 17th and 18th, right? So we'll cover, the 4 different topics: email, website investigation, and the rest of them. Now, this is so important because journalists, even journalists who are not cybersecurity, they can benefit from this, because if they want to make reports on maybe a scam or something, they can actually investigate the website on their own without saying they want to source it out, right? And these are the things you'll be learning here, So, and we are trying to bring, my own understanding of this is, we don't want to limit cybersecurity to cybersecurity professionals alone. You should be able to come from other fields and come and learn what you can benefit from here, take it back to your field and apply. Thank you. I hope I've been able to answer that question. Thank you.
Yes, I think that was okay. But Godwin's hand has been raised. I don't know. Maybe I should let him speak.
Please, Godwin, go ahead and speak, please.
Okay, thank you so much. I raised my hand to ask that question that you just answered now, and I appreciate the way you answered the question. I'm happy about that. Thank you.
Okay,
You're
thank
welcome,
you.
Godwin. Thank you.
So someone was asking about installations. Yes, you need VirtualBox and other applications which
Yeah, the next
will be
session will be
taking you
installation. Yeah.
next session.
Yeah.
I think I'm done. And please, if I haven't answered your question, just raise your hand. I think I'm done answering questions. Or if you have any other question, you can drop it.
Okay, just drop it if you have any other question. We need to move on to the next because that's installation of tools and walk through around some of our. I know some of us are having issues with some of the tools, so yeah, that will be solved. It's fine if I'm not able to do my own presentation today. We will be meeting during the boot camp to find time for me to do that. But at least Nanbaan has covered a whole lot, when it comes to
Thank you so much for
cybersecurity and some
listening
of
to me. If you have any more questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter or Instagram. It's Nanbaan Pwaspo. Let me drop it in the comments. So
admin, please. Over to you, please.
Okay. Thank you again, Nanbaan. You did well. So we are supposed to have a second speaker today. Just give me a moment. Okay. Just give me a moment, please.
Admin, please, are you there?
Okay, good evening. I'm not sure we are able to hear the administrator.
Okay, I'm back. So sorry for the breaking transmission. So our second speaker today is Mr. Fortune Ejili. So I'm not so sure if he's on this call yet. Mr. Fortune, please, if you're on the call, over to you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I admin, I'm not sure Mr. Fortune is able to present right now, but if you don't mind, I am ready so that I can just keep.
Please, Adewale, please go ahead, please.
Okay,
please. I've wanted to say that. Mustapha, please, just step in. Just go ahead. Fire on, please. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. I am Adewale. I'm very sure you have been enjoying yourself, and if you have not, then maybe something is wrong with the hairpiece. But I'm very sure everything has been fine so far. So please confirm that you can hear me. Let me hear your voice, please.
We can hear you.
Yes, we can
All
hear
right.
you.
Yes, we can.
And also hear you.
Thank you very much. So briefly, I will be giving us basics on forensic analysis. forensic analysis. So when you hear the word forensic analysis, what does it mean?
Adewale, please, it is installation guide. Please,
Okay.
this is not a real boot camp. We just want to introduce them to how the walkthrough, how they can install Kali Linux, and some of the tools like the FTK imager, the volatility. I think a lot of people are having issues with that. So that is not. This is not the real boot camp. The real boot camp is next week. This is just to help people with installation, walkthrough. If you don't have that ability to do the walkthrough now, if you can get a video that you can share, maybe, I don't know. I know you are not prepared for this, and the person that is supposed to take them is not here. So you can just share your screen and go through the walkthrough of how to install Kali Linux, even if it is on, I don't know, on the web page or something. Just you get.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No problem. I will be taking us on the installation then. So basically, for forensic investigation, there are many tools you could use. These tools are available on different platforms. You might use Macintosh, you might use Linux, you might use Windows. But basically, if you are going to do real world analysis and you mean the business, it is ideal that you make use of Linux operating system, among which you can use Kali Linux, you can use Parrot, you can use Backbox, you can use Tail, you can use Ubuntu. There are so many distros out there which you can just lay your hand on and use. So because of the urgency of it, let me take us through installation of one of the application you can use for forensic analysis. So instead of me taking you how to install Kali right away, let me take us through Windows operating system, the tools that are available. There are quite a number of them. So by the time I'll be through with my session, I'm going to drop links to where you can gather these resources. So you can go ahead and download them directly from there, and then prepare yourself for the bootcamp so that you have time for the installation of each one of them. And perhaps you are still having problem with the installation, just relax. By the time the bootcamp starts fully, you'll be fully guided. Do not be in a hurry. So I am assuming that my audience are people that are basic knowledge in cybersecurity, and you just need a means to start. So you're welcome. I'm also assuming that I have people that none of the time I'm going to mention is going to be new to, just going to be okay, one or two add up to what they've already known. And I'm also assuming that I have experts on this platform who are just like, okay, let's see what you guys are doing. Either way, I welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. So please, I would like you to confirm that you can see my screen by the time I share it. Currently, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not
Okay,
yet.
still rolling. Thank you for that.
Yes, now you can see your screen. I can see.
Okay, we can see it
All
now.
right, thank you very much. So I'm going to make use of another.
Yes, we can see.
All right. I've just confirmed that. So I've stopped the presentation for that so that I can bring the tools that is going to be needed for the presentation in the right position so that we will have enough time for our work. So Gerald, we're about to start. So I'll be picking one of the two, which is FTK Imager. I have a couple of these tools here that I will be using. Don't worry, I'm going to share my screen any moment. Just hang on there a minute, please. Okay. Sorry, I'm in a meeting. Please, can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please.
And you can see my screen as well.
I can hear you. Yes, I can
Yes.
see your
Yes.
screen.
Thank you very much. So I'll be picking the tools we'll be using for our presentation. So the first one on the list is FTK Imager. Oh, let me drag it.
Sorry, Adewale, for interrupting you. There are people here who does not have the knowledge of cybersecurity. So please be elementary as possible, like as much as possible. Try to explain each concept you mentioned so that people will be able to. I know there are experts here, there are also intermediate people here, but as well as we have those, there are also people who are new to and really want to learn. Thank you.
Okay. So sorry, my bad. I really apologize for that. So I will be speaking briefly on what FTK Imager is. So the tools that we might be installing for this session, we have FTK Imager. We'll not be installing Autopsy. Autopsy is bundled together with Kali, Linux, Parrot, and the other distro. But there is also a Windows version of FTK Imager. If you are using Macintosh, you can also download a copy and make use of. So what is FTK Imager used for? So perhaps you have been in an environment where there is a crime scene and you find a flash drive on the street and you just pick it up. Most especially, anybody will pick the flash drive and connect it to his or her system without even asking questions. But believe me, these days, what attackers do, they simply make keyloggers. Thank you, Nanbaan, for your explanation the other time. Nanbaan has been able to deal with what keylogger means. Keyloggers can be hardware keylogger or software keylogger. Can be any program that is carefully crafted to be of another name, added to another program which you download to your system, and then you install, not knowing that you have actually added a Trojan together with the application. A Trojan is any form of spyware that pretend to be the good one, but then is doing malicious intent behind the scene. So a keylogger is usually carefully crafted to be like this. So say for instance, you pick up a flash drive, and then you, by instinct, you want to test or you want to check the content of the flash drive. And then the next thing is, I can tell that in Nigeria, we still have like at least 50% of people using Windows operating system. So for the popularity of Windows operating system, most keyloggers are designed to work on Windows operating system because of the popularity and user friendliness. So most of the keyloggers will be Windows generically. So you just connect the flash drive to your system, and guess what happened next? Something show up like a black screen, and then it disappear quickly. And then you're like, okay, I've seen the folders now. And before you know, you start copying, unknowing to you that the moment you plug in the flash drive contains an auto run.
Sorry, Adewale, sorry for interrupting you. Please, can you show them how to install the VM virtual box? Let's use virtual box. Leave the explanation. While you are installing, you can just be explaining to them. We really want this to be very practical so that people can go ahead and install on their own and get ready for the bootcamp. So start with VirtualBox. You can share your screen, go to the VirtualBox Oracle where they can download just step-by-step guide how they can install it, the installation step. Then if you already have it, you don't need to install it. Just show how they can install it. Then you can then go to Kali Linux websites and show them which one to download for which VM, right? So that this, we will be able to cover as much as possible and help people to understand how to install this. I'm sorry, we are giving you impromptu this thing like this. I understand we're not the one to take the distance. So please, let's just go through that before you now come to FTK Imager or the rest of them like that. I know FTK Imager and Autopsy and Volatility can be installed on Windows, right? But it's also advisable that we introduce people to the Kali Linux environment. Some of these tools are on Kali Linux, right? So yeah, so let's just go from, let's take that progression from VM or VM VirtualBox to Kali Linux. Then you can then go ahead with FTK Imager. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you for that prompt. Please confirm if you can see an interface where you see Kali 22.1.
Yes, I can see it.
All right, so I have
Yes,
launched
we can see.
my virtual machine. So my virtual machine is VMware. VMware is a type of virtual machine. We have VirtualBox, VMware, and the likes. There are many of them. So what it does is it helps you to have an operating system within another operating system. You can go ahead, type straight in Google virtual machine, how to get virtual machine, or just means to download virtual machine. Straightforward, you can download it. The installation is pretty simple, but I do not have an installer of that file right here on my system. I will have guide you how to do the installation, but perhaps one of the facilitator will take that installation next time. Let me show you how to install an operating system through your virtual machine. Say for instance, you have downloaded the virtual machine and then you need to install an operating system in the virtual machine. Please, if what I'm saying is a bit too technical, don't be hard on yourself. It's going to be easy. I will try my best to be as simple as I can. And if possible, please lay your hand on the record of this meeting so that you can have recap, be able to understand some of the techniques that we explain. So I'll be taking us through how to install an operating system in your virtual machine. So like I've said, a virtual machine is a form of container. A container that can allow you to house an operating system within another operating system. You can have more than one operating system. You can have as much as possible, depending based on the type of virtual machine you are using. So I'm using VMware, and I have installed Kali. I have installed Parrot. I've installed Windows Server 2016. I've installed quite a number of them, but because of memory space on my system, I've actually have to remove the rest of them so that I can manage the space. So whenever you are doing virtual machine, you are installing operating system in your virtual machine, you are actually making sacrifice of some memory space on your hard disk. It is also possible to install a virtual machine on a flash drive. It's also possible to install a virtual machine on an external device. You just have to get portable virtual machines. So I'm going to share the link to some of this by the time I'm through. So if you can still see my screen, I will go straight to creating a new virtual environment for an operating system. So I'll click on File and go to New Virtual Machine, or I can just go Home so that everybody can see that I'm starting from the beginning. So I click on File, New Virtual Machine. So I'm using a version of Workstation Pro 2016, and yours can be of another version. It doesn't really matter. It will work. You might not necessarily have to download VMware. You can download VirtualBox. So this is virtual machine VMware type. So I want to install a new operating system. I'm taking Kali or Parrot as for instance. So I can do typical installation recommended, or I can take custom. But because I know what I'm doing, I'm going to take custom. Because once you understand how to do custom, to do typical installation becomes easy, because some things are automatically added for the typical. And so you know you are going to be advanced user eventually. So let's take custom. Next. Here, hardware is already making suggestion of the kind of hardware I'm going to use. And these are the supported hardware. By default, I'm using 16. So it's saying, okay, the compatible hardware is workstation 16.2. You don't have to worry about this instance. This is at this level. Let me just remain this basic so that you don't go into ThinHub. Now I'm going to allocate space. Now by default, 128 gigabyte memory, 32 gigabyte processor. These are the limitation for the memory space I can create. That is, I want to create a virtual machine. Sorry, an environment where my operating system can stay. The highest memory I can allocate is 128 gigabytes. The processor highest is 32. So what you're seeing here are the highest memory allocation I can assign to my virtual machine. It's just brief notes for me to take notes. So I'll click next because I don't even have this enough space on my system. I'll just need small space. So if you do not have much space on your system, don't worry, you will still get it done. What is the expected size of memory on your hard disk that is required to create a virtual machine? Let me say it again. The expected memory on your hard disk, the minimum to create an operating system for Kali Parrot, can take as minimum as 25 gigabytes of space on your hard disk. It can take 25. In fact, I've tested it with 20 and it worked just fine. But by recommendation, you can leave it for 60 gigabytes or anything lower. So I'll click next. The first question is installation. Installed from, now it's asking me, do I want to install from a disk drive? If you have disk drive by your computer, whether you are using PC or a laptop, there's a space where you can put your DVD drive. If you have your installation in that DVD, you plug it in there, you would definitely see this option selectable. But because I do not have that option, it's telling me no drives available. But there is no use for that. Why? I have the installer for this virtual environment I'm about to create as an ISO file. So what is an ISO file? ISO file is a type of file extension that allow the bundle of the whole operating system into one, and will allow it to operate effective as it would in a disk drive. So I have downloaded a copy of ISO file into my system. Now I can pick from that location. I will select this install disk image file. I will browse to the location. Now in my system, I have a folder that I created to keep everything that I want to use for my virtual environment. These are options that I have here. I created a folder ISO where I keep all my ISO files. But right now I have removed them because of no enough space. So instead, I connected a flash drive to my system that I can pick this ISO file from. So you should know, you can pick your ISO file from a flash drive or any external device. Even if it's memory card, it will still be accessible. So I have my bootable drive here. I'll select it. Now I have it in this folder, and here I have Windows 2010. I have SuperGrub 2, and I think I have removed the Kali, but this installation is still the same. All you have to do is to pick the ISO file you need. So let's say I pick this very one and I say open. It has automatically selected what I pick, but it's saying it could not detect the operating system type because the image file I selected is not the version expected. So I can browse again and pick the other one. It should automatically detect it. Can you see? Windows 10 and later x64 detected. If you had chosen Kali or Parrot or Backbox or any other Linux distro, it will suggest Linux or Unix operating system detected instead of saying Windows 10 or x64 here. Is this clear, please? So I will say continue. But the other option is I can choose this option. I will install the operating system later. If I make use of this option, it will deselect the option that I have selected. And by the time I try to do the installation, it will prompt for the location where the ISO file is kept. If it's on flash drive, you just have to select it that very time. But because I am sure I know where it is, I can choose this very one. But can you create a space now for an ISO file you are yet to add? Yes, you have to choose this option here so that by the time you want to do the installation, it will ask you for the ISO file, then you will select it. So I'm going to make use of this option as for my option, and I'll click next. Now, what type of operating system am I willing to add? Is it Windows? Is it Linux? Is it a virtual machine extensible through thin client or others? I'm very sure that I want to install Linux. I can pick Linux. Now, when you have Linux, the options you can have are these distros. You can see other Linux, Ubuntu, Ubuntu, and co. If you want to install Kali, which option would you choose? It's simple. Simply choose Debian. Kali, Parrot, Backbox, Tail, and co are Debian version of Linux type of distro. What you have to do is to select a Debian in this option. Now, what Debian version should you select? This, from 2021 upward, most of Kali, Parrot, and co are now using Debian 5. That's their kernel version. So you can pick any of this. But ideally, I would advise, as for 2022, Kali still use Debian 5. And if you use 6, still good, but please use 5 if possible. So I'm going to make use of Debian version 5 64-bit. I've selected it and I'll click Next. Now, it's asking me, do I want to retain this name as my virtual machine name? Well, I can leave it, but for easy access, I can just say Parrot 2022. I already have Kali 2022 installed for my virtual environment that I used to do my testing, so I can install Parrot instead. Then it's now saying what location should the file for this environment be kept. Okay, what this means is by the time you perform the installation in the virtual machine, every of other files will be kept in a folder that you can easily access at the later time. For instance, you can copy this folder to another system, another laptop entirely, and open it as if you just open your own laptop and then you fire up from there. You can split, you can copy a virtual environment that you've already made in a folder and take it to another laptop. Then from there, start up your virtual machine. It's possible. Just make sure you are able to keep it in a location that you know where it is. I've kept my own inside my document and I've kept it in a folder virtual machines. This is where I keep all my virtual machines. So I can say, okay. So next time, if I want to look for where the files are kept, I simply browse to my document in the folder virtual machine. So I'll click Next now. Now, it's asking me what processor do I want to allocate for this virtual environment. I have a good processor, so I can choose to allocate one. I'm using dual core. No, I'm using iSeries. So what total processor, it has automatically calculated it. If I have more than one, I can just put 4. If I have 4, but no, that's too much. I can just put my 1. 1 will do. By default, 1 should do. Processors are not really much. We just have limited amount of them. So I click Next. This is important. Please pay attention. By default, you can see this arrow has automatically selected the least minimum, that is the minimum amount of memory that can be assigned from the RAM to your virtual environment. It is expected that you allow 2 gigabytes. 2048 megabytes equals 2 gigabytes. That is the minimum this Linux environment is expected to use. And the maximum recommended memory is 13.2 gigabytes. You don't even have up to that. You can hardly have up to that. These days we have RAM that if you have anything 16 gig RAM upward, you are in good there. So on my system, I have 16 gigabytes, but I don't really need I don't need that much for this environment. I can assign 2 gig. But if you think you have enough space, you can make it 8. But for this class, I'll make it 4. Please mind me, this is random. But make sure you assign at least 2 gigabytes. So you can assign 4. You can automatically type it. You can type it manually, or you can just adjust this arrow to pick. So I'm choosing 4 here, and I'm clicking Next. So now the option is network connection. On your virtual machine, you will most likely require internet access for you to be able to perform your actions. You want to do ping, you want to do analysis, you need internet access. So there are many forms of network interface. We have NAT, we have bridge, we have host only, we have private only, about 5 of them. So you can use host only or you can use bridge. but for another time, I'll be explaining this for another time if permits. But by default, you can use your NAT for network address translation. And if you know what you're doing, you can bridge it. It will automatically select any network on your host system to your virtual environment and make use of it. But there are some instances where you want to prevent virtual machine escape. Let's say you're browsing some sensitive website like a dark web on the internet or your virtual machine. You want to be careful not to breach your network, because an attacker you can download a file from an attacker that has a file that can crawl through your virtual machine and escape to your host system, and it could be a ransomware. But that's just a topic of another day. So I can use my NAT. Then I'll click next. So LSI logic, this, you don't have to worry about this. This relates to the hardware of the system you are using. There are some instances where you need to go and turn on some feature on your hardware of the system before it can actually work in some instance. But by default, leave it to the recommended. Next. It's asking me, do I want SC, SI, or IDE, or SATA? Leave it to the recommended. SCSI is fine, but if you have an IDE virtual and IDE ISO file, you can also make use of that, but leave this recommended is fine. Next, create a new virtual disk. Use an existing virtual disk. Use a physical disk. The option is to create a new. I'll be taking questions after the installation guide. Please just prepare it so that we can wrap it up on time. Now, the maximum size by default is, the minimum size is 20 gig. Yeah, recommended size for Debian is 20 gig, which is actually minimum. If you put 15 here, it's most likely going to encounter error and crash along the line. So please use anything 20 and above. I have used 20, I've used 30, and I've used something more than that, and it has been working. So you can leave it as 20, but if you have enough space in your system, you can increase it to 50 gigabytes. Please take note. The moment you assign that 50 gigabytes to this virtual environment, it will be automatically extracted from your main hard drive and be allocated for this virtual environment. You can no longer have access to that 50 gigabytes on your system except on your virtual machine. Now you can be using it on your virtual machine, but your main parent OS is not accessible any longer. So you want to be careful of the amount of size you allocate so you do not run out of memory space eventually. So now this option, allocate all disk space. Now, no, you don't want to do this. If you do this, it could lead to your own main operating system crashing by the time you are running very, very big resource computing environment in your virtual machine. Please do not select this unless you know what you're doing. Now, this option is very important. Please pay attention. Store virtual disk as a single file. Split virtual disk into multiple files. Why should you split? If you're able to read, it says splitting the disk makes it easier to move the virtual machine to another computer, but may reduce performance with large disk. That is to say, remember I said that you can copy your virtual environment from one laptop to another. Yes, just check this option, split virtual disk into multiple files. This way, it will split everything in that ISO file to options that will help them to run on their own when they are moved from one computer to another. All you have to do is to copy it, the whole folder, and take it to another laptop and continue, fire on. So I'll click next. Now it's asking me a 50 gigabyte disk. If a 50 gigabyte virtual disk be created using multiple disk type, this disk type will be automatically named based on this. You can leave this by default. I'm advising, please, if this is the name you have given your title from the start, leave this name as it is, so that by the time you are copying across, you do not have conflict of name problem. One thing about computer does not joke with names. Next. Now, this will be the summary of the installation type I want to perform. Customized hardware is not necessary. Please, let's leave it for now. I'll click Finish. Watch. I have successfully created a virtual environment for a Parrot operating system on my system. This is it. Notice by default, I had Windows 16 and I had Kali, and now I've created Parrot. My Kali is working fine. My Windows 2016 is working fine, but my Parrot cannot work. Why? The file that will be used to do the installation has not been added. Remember, I chose the option install later. So for me to start it, I will have to right click, or sorry, just click on this play button, or you click power on this virtual machine. So if I should click power on this virtual machine, it's expected to ask me for the location. Cannot connect to the virtual device because no corresponding device is available on the host. Do you want to try to connect to this virtual device environment every time you power on this machine? So, okay, let me say yes. So these are the possible errors you might likely see. I'm expecting to see an error, and the error is coming up now. Now, this is the error. If you had clicked yes the way I clicked it, you will see this error because it's attempting to request for the location from a network that is not available. Wrong, it will not work. So this will fail. You might have this error. So what you do is simply stop. Look at my arrow, click on that arrow and click power off. Power off. This way I have powered it off. So how do I correct this error? I will right click and I will click setting. Now I need to choose the location for the hard disk, for the ISO file that will be used for the program. So I'll just come over and then select, browse for it. I have it on the flash drive. Here is it. Here is it. Here is it. And I pick it and I say open. Mind you, I've selected a ISO file. Once I click OK now, I can now click power on this virtual machine. But I will not power on this virtual machine yet. I would like to take our questions and see if there is any instance I have been too fast or have been too slow, or if you have any question, please ask now. So please ask your question, please. Or if it's clear so far, please let me know. I would like to take your response.
So I would appreciate if we use the chat box. It will make things very tidy. Then a couple of questions are already on the chat box. Perhaps you check.
I am truly sorry. I've been following the installation guide that I did not pay attention to the chat box.
It's okay. Perhaps I read a couple of them.
Okay. Please let me see. Let me scroll.
Emmanuel said something.
Okay.
Let me just scroll up a bit.
Okay, somebody mentioned installing Kali Linux in Android device in 5 minutes. Yes, I think that was a video made by Bombay, and there are some instances where you encounter error, but please give it a try at your risk. Be careful though. But I have not seen any problem so far with that installation. Some people say a problem completing the installation, but then it's a bit technical. You need to know what you're doing to actually use it, not just installing it. Somebody's posted a video step by step if you're trying to install Kali Linux in virtual machine. Thank you very much. This should also do. So I will not be watching the video because of our time frame so that we can continue next time. But perhaps if there's any other question from what I've done so far, kindly type it or just unmute yourself and speak quickly.
Okay, someone asked, that is Ernestina. So I couldn't find the Kali ISO in my virtual machine. So I went on to download Kali from Windows Store using WSL. Is that okay?
Okay, depending on where you are trying to do the installation from, are you using, which virtual machine are you using? Is it VMware or VirtualBox, or you are using Windows Linux? You know, we now have Linux in Windows. Windows has incorporated this feature. What do they call it again, sir? I see people copying things.
Okay, sir. So
I
I'm
won't mind we
here.
go for that.
Can I ask you here?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead,
Yes.
please.
So they said you could use the Kali Linux itself, downloaded from the Windows Store, but then you're going to use WSL. So like there are WSL commands that you run on that Kali app. So it's sort of like you're able to run both your Kali and Windows on the same machine without using a virtual box.
Okay, so you are not using VirtualBox in this instance at all.
No,
Right.
initially I wanted to use the virtual box, but then when I got to this stage where you just got to, where you go and take the ISO file from the hard disk or wherever you stored your Kali that you downloaded, I couldn't find the ISO. Meanwhile, when I go back to my Windows, I find it in the folder that I saved it in. And then when I get back to the VirtualBox to come and select it as, I don't know whether the image or something in the settings side where you just did, I'm unable to see it there. It doesn't recognize it. So I
Okay,
decided to use that other step.
Okay, it would have been nice if, for instance, you're on your system and let's say we have enough time. I would have said you should share your screen while we take it through. It could be because by the time you try to locate the file, by default, it's expecting you to select ISO file, but when the Explorer opens up, you have not select the option show all files, because if you don't show all files, it might be specifically looking for a type of format which has not been present in that very location. It might be in that very location, but because you have not selected the option to see all file, it might not be visible at that very instance that you try to browse to that location. So it might be the reason, it might not be, but because I'm not able to see your environment now, I can't really see what exactly is missing. But if you take
Yeah,
the
so
step of, go
I
ahead,
showed
please.
off files and still couldn't find it there. So I uninstalled it. So probably from here, I'll go back and install it again and try to see if it will work this time. And then I showed off files and I still couldn't find it. It happened to a friend too. So we both stopped installing on the virtual box. And then I went ahead to find other ways in which I could install the Kali on my machine. And then I got the option of using the WSL, which would help me run both Windows and the Kali Linux on the same machine without using a virtual box.
Okay. So would you give this very one a try, just in case you're unable to go along with that? But then if you still have another problem, I suggest you reach out to the admin in another time so that we can help. But for this very time, because of the time frame, we might not be able to address that right now.
Okay, no
Hello,
problem.
sir.
Thank you
I'm
very
having,
much.
sorry to cut you. I have the same problem and I can share my screen so that you see it.
Okay.
I have a similar problem.
Please do not share your screen yet, because admin need to give approval based on the time frame that we have. Admin, please go
To be
ahead.
very honest, we're having a limited time frame. I think we should be leaving here by 9 p.m. and it's already 20 minutes to that time. So I would need Mr. Segun's input here. If that'll be okay, he shares his screen. If not, we have two pending questions at the moment.
Okay, so actually what I want to talk about is very important, right? But it's fine. So if people are having issues, we need to help them so that we get them ready for the bootcamp. So Mr. Mustapha, please just fire on and help whoever needs help. I will be stepping down from my own session. We will meet next week. We'll find a way around how I would come up with how to introduce them to what I want to introduce them to. So Mr. Mustapha, please just go ahead. You can allow the person to use me and help them. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I honor you. Thank you for the good work. Thank you for bringing this up. And please, let's give Mr. Segun a round of applause for his good work. Just indicate you're clapping for him. He's been doing very good work behind the scene. This is taking toll on him. God bless you. Thank you for your good work, sir, and the rest of the administrator. So for the person that wants to share his screen, let me know that you're ready. If you're ready, please let me know. So let me be taking questions on the platform. Please hand on. Do not let these questions go away so that we can see how to address them. There's a question from Nafisa Abiodun Ayonlola. What is the best way to turn off your Kali Linux and virtual machine or VMware after use? Because I only logged out. Then after I restart my entire system, I put on the virtual machine and Kali, and it's not booting. What would have been wrong? Okay, so there's possibility that by the time you you power on the virtual machine, you have the option to, for instance, please look at my screen. Let me share my screen quickly. I'm going to power on my Kali so that let it show up. Then on my virtual machine, I'll show you how to stop it, pause it, restart it, or suspend it. So I'm running Kali now. It's going to boot up any moment. But then there is this feature where you will have to continue from where you stop, just as we have in Windows, where you hibernate your system. It's also possible on your virtual machine. The option to suspend is available, or there's a way VirtualBox also revert to it. So by the time this boots up, we are going to address that so that you can see how to do it next time. But adventure, there may be something you just need to pay attention to so that you will not have to do the reinstallation repeatedly. Now, that I hope you are able to get that. Another question is Kali virtual machine from Kali.org is spyware file size this? Because during the proctor exam of CCP, I was asked to deactivate my virtual machine task manager. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for this question. Oh, I have taken some certification exams like this that they require that you terminate all session that is active on your system. This is very important. The reason is because Kali, Parrot, Badbox, Tail, Cybox, and the rest of the distros that can be used to conduct security assessment and used for penetration testers have their unique hash files. Yes, they have their unique hash files. Every file in existence has its own unique hash files. So I'm going to briefly demonstrate something because of what you've just asked. So in forensic analysis, we pay attention to uniqueness of every file. Remember I said when I started that every file, everything in computer is identified. Computer does not joke with names. Plain and simple. Computer does not joke with names. Everything in your system is uniquely identified. How do you know? So I'm going to run my Kali I'm running my Kali now. So before I start with that, to answer this question that she asked, I can do it in Windows and I can do it in Linux. For you to know whether the file is unique, first of all, pay attention to the platform that is sharing it. I encountered a ransomware case this year and last year. Last year on, we couldn't recover it. We had to format the drive. After formatting the drive, booting from it was as if this man made it homomorphic malware. Booting from it was difficult. We had to condemn the hard drive. The one I encountered this year, oh, I fell for him. This very man had a session with some top politician and he had a video coverage of them and they needed this presentation a week after. So he went home to quickly get some video editing software so that he could edit it very well and present it next week. So he went to a website called fileupload.io. Unfortunately, he did not want the address bar. Instead of fileupload.io, it was fileupload.co. Then he was downloading the file. Immediately he downloaded the file. Before the file was successfully downloaded, a file of 8 kilobytes was added to the original file. The 8 kilobyte file dropped along with the original file. Before the original file was downloaded, the 8 kilobyte file dropped first. That was a ransomware. Before the file was able to download, the small file downloaded immediately began execution and then encrypted the whole system. Unfortunately for him, his external hard disk was also connected, and this was how this ransomware encrypted everything on the hard disk and even everything on the system. He said it was a targeted attack. Some people were after him. Maybe that was why they sent it to his system. But on analyzing his system, I saw where the problem came from. So the attacker carefully crafted a file within the C drive, which he called host. I opened the C drive and it was now demanding an approximate of 1 Bitcoin to recover the encrypting keys for his system. Unfortunately for him, the mistake he made was he downloaded a file from a wrong location, but because he did not identify the right file, that file was a ransomware that encrypted all his files. We could not recover these things. I am very sorry for him, but that was the last time. We tried and we tried. We fell into the hand of scammers, paid some ransom. It was all useless. These guys are deeply connected. Please beware of where you download your file. Drive-by download is real. So how do you know the genuineness of a file as regard your question? If it's in a Windows environment, you can use your CMD to find out. You can use your PowerShell, and if you know how to leverage on the other ones. But because I'm in a Linux environment, I'm going to use a Linux environment I'm going to use a terminal to do that. So can you see my terminal? Please confirm if you can see my terminal.
Yeah, we can.
Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
So I have this file on my environment, supergrub2. This is a very good file. It helps me a lot. If you want to know about it, just do Google search supergrub2. What does it do? Now, this file, I downloaded it, is just 20 megabytes of a file. I'm very careful when I'm downloading it because when you go to some security website, you will see something called MD5 hash placed right below or beside or above the file you're trying to download. What does this mean? Every file that is compiled is uniquely identified with the hash file, an hash algorithm, such that if that file is modified for any reason, the hash computation immediately changes. By the time you compare the original hash with the new one, if it's not matched, that means you have downloaded a wrong file. So even if you want to download Parrot, they will put the hash file there, such that in case this happened to Linus Mint 2018, 2020, somebody successfully hacked Linus Mint website. He downloaded the original Linus Mint ISO file. He replaced the ISO file with his own malicious embedded ISO and uploaded it back to the website, a security website that is open source. They did not manage what went wrong, and people started downloading Linus Mint latest version. This continued for a year, and everybody that downloaded a copy of that file that failed to check the MD5 hash was vulnerable to the malicious attacker that replaced it. After a year, he declared what he did. That was when we now knew that, oh, somebody actually compromised the original file. So even if you want to download a security file tomorrow, check the hash file. It is important. So I'll just browse to the location of where, okay, let me just open directly from here. So I want to check the hash file of this program. This is my desktop. So I have many files, and this is the file I want to determine the hash file. So I can say, okay, MD5. I have MD5 sum there. Okay, MD5 sum, supergrub2. There it is. This is the hash file for this very file. If I should go back online and I try to download this file again, and I'm seeing another hash file, it is simply somebody has replaced the original. I have to be careful and I will not download it. Plain and simple. Whenever you see a website showing you hash file, please copy the hash file. By the time you download the software, before you run the software, check if the hash file match. It's not only MD5, it could be SHA-1. I can say SHA. I have SHA-1 sum here of, okay, let me use SHA-1 sum of the same file. Another hash file has been presented. This hash file is different to this hash file because it is different type. This is MD5, this is SHA-1. We have SHA-512, we have SHA-256. If you use any of them, you will get each one. Regardless of which algorithm you use to check, it has to be unique with the one that is identified on the website you are downloading it from. This is on a Linux environment. You can do the same with your CMD. But because of our time, Let me not just go there now. But for the officer that has the question, I was asked to deactivate my VMware. Yes, you cannot use Linux operating system to do your online Proctored exam, because a good malicious attacker, a very good one, can find a way to bypass the security of that program that finds every program running. Notice this. Pay attention to this. By the time you run your task manager, you see every application running. I can create a program that will detect every application running, just the way they created their own. So they want to make sure that no application is running, but they cannot do that effectively on Linux environment. They know that anybody could spawn a process that running in the background, which they will not be aware of. So because of that, they are taking precaution to ensure that security measure is not bypassed. Still, people find their way around it. But for the basic level, that's what they do. So you cannot use Linux environment to do your Proctored exam. It is not acceptable, because you could be malicious enough to bypass their security measure. That is the reason why. I hope that answers your question. Am I the only one here?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes.
No, we can hear you clearly. I'm with you.
So it is best to install Kali in VirtualBox or VMware. Installing with WSL on Windows has come limitation. Thank you, Kingsley Amadi. Thank you very much for that. Why? Windows is trying to box Linux into their own box. I'm sorry, that's not against Windows, but that's exactly what they are doing. They are copying everything. They are bringing Linux within their window so that you will have no reason to do Linux environment but use the window for everything. That's impossible. We are sorry. Windows creates a system that becomes a box eventually, that by the time you try to break loose, they ask you to pay for subscription. I'm sorry, please, I strongly recommend Kingsley option. Use your VirtualBox or virtual machine or other virtual environment that you could use to do your virtual machine installation. It is better than the Windows SL. The limitations are too much. PowerShell will not allow you to rest. Please go beyond that limitation. Get out of the box. Get out of the box. By the time you are in your virtual machine, you can install Kali, Parrot. You can do as much as possible. And if you want to go extra mile, you can do a boot like me. Is there any other question? Admin, this is 8:53. I would like to know if question is still welcoming.
I just take a question or two. I think I would like to prepare for my SSC exam.
Okay, so in case nobody has questions, so this
hello.
is it.
I'm still
Good evening,
waiting
can you
to
hear me?
share screen so that you see my Kali Linux OS I download. If maybe
have
it's not the right one, so
question.
that you can guide me. I'm still waiting to share so that you
Okay.
see
Can you hear
it.
me?
Yes, please hold on. Let's take Godwin first. Godwin wants to share his screen. For Godwin, please be mindful. Let me remind you that we do not have enough time. So I don't know how long this will take, but let's see your environment to just see. Kindly share
Yes,
quickly.
sir. So that you see if I'm not working with the right file.
Okay, go ahead, Godwin.
Can you see my screen now?
It's rolling. Okay.
You can see it now.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So
you are using Oracle.
Yes,
Very good.
Oracle.
So what error were you facing?
Okay, let me try to load the Kali Linux. There is to not see the OS.
Click, let's see.
See the folder becomes empty.
Okay. Remember what I said the other time, that it's possible you do not choose the right file type format. So please, on the file name towards the right, look for where you see all virtual optical drive on the drop down. Come down. Can you see that option before I click? Select all files. Let's see.
Files
Okay.
are here.
Do not touch any of this. This is not a unique ISO file. These are splitted files used during installation. This is not the genuine one. Take a step back. Go back, please. Click on the arrow going back. Locate your ISO file that you downloaded from where you
I think all he did was he downloaded an image for
Oh, you downloaded an image. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
an image that was downloaded. So that image is for VMware, not for VirtualBox. This would have been easier to
Okay,
import
okay.
on a
This is
VMware.
VMware, not for VirtualBox. It
Okay,
can only work
okay,
with VMware.
okay.
So
So I
another
will
way
need
you
to
can go
download.
around it next time. Please listen,
Okay.
Kingsley. Another way you can go around it is if you download the file already, the already made virtual environment, you can just double click on it. If you have the right format of virtual machine, say you have downloaded VMware and that's the solution you have. The moment you double click on the file, it will prompt you if you want to accept the terms and conditions and then you want to allow the installation to go on directly. It will automatically take the memory space, the RAM, the processor required based on the configuration that the person that made that file made it. So you just go ahead straight. Just double click on the file and then you go forward. But instead of this virtual machine, look for the VirtualBox file. That one will not be ending with .vm. It will be ending with .ova for VirtualBox. .ova. So this is not compatible with VirtualBox. This is compatible with the one I'm using, VMware. That's the reason. Sir.
Okay, thank you.
All the best, sir. Next person, please. Nafisa, do you have question?
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
We can. Please go ahead.
Yeah. For me, I wanted to ask some of the applications you're supposed to download, they are not available for Mac. So does that mean that for us to do all we need to do, would have to run with a Windows system?
Okay, it's not necessary that you run with Windows system. If the application you are to install is not Windows only, you are not definitely going to have to use Windows alone. If you are going to use the application within a Linux environment, ideally, there is virtual machine for Macintosh, for Mac. Just download virtual machine for Mac. Follow the installation guide. After that installation guide, install the virtual machine. For Macintosh, it is a little bit technical. It's not as straightforward as other platforms. But Macintosh is just another Linux with good GUI. So you don't have to worry. It will not be as technical as, it will not be more than normal. You can install virtual machine on your Windows and you can install on your Linux. So install virtual machine on your Linux, on your Macintosh. Every other installation that is required, you can now install it.
Okay, all right, no problem. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other person? We're almost out of time. This is 8:59. Please, let's take the last question so that admin can take over. Any other person? All right, thank you very much. I hope maybe one or two way you have been able to enjoy your time. I hope you have learned something. I hope I've not bored you so much. But before I go, I have a sweet. I'm giving a sweet to somebody. The sweet is because I want to thank you very much for not hacking me. How? The smartest person that hacked Google Meet, I want to clap for you. You hack Google Meet by muting. You mute the facilitator. Wow, clap for yourself. You're a hacker. You're a hacker. I really celebrate you. I was like, please, when you mute me, I'm going to give you this tom-tom. Oh, you can't see me. Or I'll give you this tom-tom to please do not hack me. Thank you very much for not muting me. I can keep my sweet now. Thank you. Host, you can take charge.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you, Adewale, for the practical and hands-on class. So we'll be giving the mic to Mr. Segun. I believe he has a thing or two to tell us today. before we say goodbye and we gear up for next week. So over to you, Mr. Shegun.
Wow, wow, wow. I'm clapping for all the facilitators tonight. It's been so wonderful. Nanbaan started off with so much fire. Like she was on fire literally, and it's been so wonderful. And Mustapha came up with I respect Mustapha for one thing, his ability to leverage on his technical experience and help people to come into that space. And that was what he has actually demonstrated tonight, and that was spot on. That was awesome. I was telling my brother that, come on, this has been the best I've ever seen. It has been so awesome. Thank you, Nanbaan, for that wonderful session on introduction to cybersecurity and the hilarious illustrations and the rest of them. And Mustapha, thank you for making technical stuff to be more relatable to as much people who are not so techy that have joined. That was so spot on. Thank you so much, and I'm thanking everyone who has joined and contributed. I saw how active we are and how attentive we are, and I believe that you'll be able to learn one or two, even if it is not as much as learning 10 things. At least I want to believe you've been able to learn one or two, and we are doing this so that we have more people come into the field. We have 3.5 billion cybersecurity jobs that are yet to be filled right now because there are lack of cybersecurity professionals and competent, skilled cybersecurity professionals, and we are trying to bridge that gap by introducing, I said the other time, introducing skills, related skills and focus skills, so that as bit by bit we begin to get people understand how this thing works and then be able to go for it and the rest of them. So I want to believe you've enjoyed yourself so much, you've learned so much. Go and play with your Kali liners, but be very careful, right? Be very careful. But just try watch view videos before next week. You're going to be learning a lot next week. You're going to be learning a lot. Mustapha is going to be coming back with so much fire to take us on different analysis and rest on on some of this USB stick and the rest of them. Don't worry, there is a lot to learn and something you can practice on your own and even share on social media that, yeah, I was able to do this, I was able to do that, and sell yourself, right? So thank you so much. Thank you, admin. Thank you for standing in. I came in a bit late, and you've been so wonderful. I look forward to seeing our faces next week for the bootcamp. And if you register for Certified in Cybersecurity by ISC 2, next week also, before the bootcamp, I'll be having a session, to take us through preparation tips and the rest of them like that. And if you want to know more about what Certified in Cybersecurity is, maybe you want to start your journey in cybersecurity, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be able to help and send the link to you. The registration is still on. Thank you so much. Back to you, admin. Just that is all I have to say. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone who showed up. We started with over 60 people, and consistency has it that we are close to 50 as we are about rounding up. So I want to say thank you to everyone who showed up, our wonderful facilitators, that's Nanbaan and Adewale. Then to our convener, Mr. Segun, thank you for having us here. So the video for this would be out, I think, later in the week. So those of us who came in late, keep an eye on the Telegram group. You would hear from us. So that will be good night from here. I'm wishing us a restful weekend.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Bye. Bye. Thank you for your
Bye.
time.
Good night.
Bye bye. Good night.
Yes.
Okay.